He went to his father's grave to mourn. He didn't expect to meet the son he never knew he had, a 10-year-old boy, a mother's hidden truth, and a billionaire who's about to lose everything if he doesn't fight for what truly matters. This isn't just a story about power, wealth, or regret. It's about second chances and the kind of love that shows up too late but stays anyway. This is the story of Calvin, Jasmine, and Isaiah, and it will break you in the best way. The cemetery was quiet, except for the wind stirring the dry leaves and the soft crunch of gravel under Calvin Grant's polished shoes. He visited his father's grave every April 12th without fail, slipping away from the boardrooms and skyline views of Grant Technologies to honor the man who built the empire before him. It was supposed to be a solitary ritual. No press, no entourage, no distractions. But this time, something was different. A small figure knelt just a few feet from the headstone, half hidden by the base of an angel statue. Calvin squinted against the sunlight. It was a boy, maybe 9 or 10, with a hoodie 2 sizes too big hanging off his narrow frame. The boy's head was bowed, his hands clutched tightly in his lap. Calvin slowed his steps. "You've got the wrong grave, kid," he said gently, uncertain whether to be annoyed or concerned. The boy looked up. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to bother you, Grandpa." Calvin froze. "What?" The boy stood now, eyes wide but not afraid. "My mom told me. This is Grandpa's grave. She told me how to find it." Calvin's heart thudded like a war drum. He glanced down at the marble slab. Robert Grant, beloved father, entrepreneur, visionary. "That's not possible," Calvin murmured, almost to himself. "She said you didn't want us," the boy continued, not looking away. "But I just wanted to see him. Even if he's gone." The words landed like punches to Calvin's chest. He staggered a half-step back, searching the boy's face. "What's your name?" he asked, voice dry. "Isaiah. Isaiah Carter." Carter. The name cracked something open. Jasmine Carter. His summer love. His hidden heartbreak. And suddenly he saw it. The sharp chin, the intense eyes, the dimple just to the right of the boy's mouth when he frowned. "My mom's name is Jasmine Carter," Isaiah said as if reading his thoughts. "She said you probably wouldn't remember her." Calvin nearly fell to his knees. "I remember her," he whispered. I didn't know." Isaiah stepped back, uncertain now. "She said you'd say that you'd pretend to care. But I needed to see. I had to." Calvin reached out but stopped himself. "How did you get here?" he asked softly. "I took the bus." His throat tightened. "Alone?" Isaiah nodded. "She doesn't know. She'd freak." Calvin took a deep breath, trying to anchor himself in the moment. "Come on," he said gently. "Let me take you home." Isaiah hesitated, then nodded slowly. His fingers gripped the straps of his backpack as they walked back to Calvin's car in silence. As they drove through the city, Calvin's eyes flicked to the boy in the passenger seat. With each red light, the resemblance grew stronger, and the ache in his chest deepened. They pulled up in front of a faded brick apartment building in south-central Los Angeles. Isaiah pointed to a door on the second floor. Modest, humble. So far from the penthouse skyline, Calvin called home. "Please don't yell," Isaiah said quietly, hand on the car door. "She didn't want this. She didn't want you." Calvin's voice was calm. "I'm not gonna yell." They walked up the stairs. The door opened before they knocked, and there she was. Jasmine Carter. Older. Tired. Still the same fire in her eyes. Still breathtaking. "What the hell are you doing here?" she demanded, voice like fire and ice. Calvin's breath caught in his throat. "Hi, Jasmine," he said. "We need to talk." Jasmine didn't answer right away. Her gaze flicked to Isaiah, who stood behind Calvin with his hands in his pockets, suddenly shrinking. Her jaw clenched. "Isaiah, inside. Now." "Wait." Calvin stepped forward instinctively. "Don't blame him. He didn't do anything wrong. He found me at my father's grave." Jasmine's lips parted like she was going to snap back, but then she stopped. The anger in her face faltered just for a second. She looked at Isaiah, then at Calvin, then back again. And something cracked. I told you never to go there alone, she said to her son, voice trembling. I told you, Isaiah mumbled. I just wanted to know. Jasmine led him inside without another word, then stepped out onto the landing and pulled the door mostly closed behind her. She folded her arms, shielding herself against the past. You don't get to show up like this, she said. You don't get to just appear after 10 years. I didn't know, Calvin said, his voice hoarse. I swear to God, Jasmine, I didn't know. I didn't know about him. I didn't know you were pregnant, she cut in. You knew. He shook his head quickly. No, I didn't. Not until today. Don't lie to me. I'm not. Jasmine laughed, dry and bitter. Then how do you explain the letter your lawyer sent me? Huh? Mr. Grant has no interest in pursuing this matter. Do not contact him further. Her voice pitched higher. I still have it. I kept it. Every single word. Calvin's stomach dropped like a weight. He staggered back a step. I didn't send that, he whispered. I don't believe you. He ran his hand through his hair, suddenly remembering his father. The final meeting they'd had before Jasmine vanished, his father's calm voice telling him it was handled, the way Robert Grant always handled things. Calvin's knees buckled slightly. My father, he said, the words spilling out like they'd been locked away too long. He did it. He must have. Jasmine narrowed her eyes. Are you really going to blame a dead man for walking away from your own child? I'm not walking away. I didn't even get the chance to walk toward him. I didn't know, Jasmine, I swear to you. He didn't tell me. He didn't show me anything. He intercepted it all, just like he always did. Controlled everything. She studied him, the expensive coat, the tired eyes, the guilt in his voice. She wanted to scream. She wanted to hit something. But most of all, she wanted to believe him. You don't know what it was like, she said finally. I wrote you 6 letters. I sent you pictures. I told you about Isaiah's birth, his first words, his first fever. I waited for something, anything. And then I stopped waiting. Calvin swallowed hard. I deserved your hate. I still might. You don't get to play the victim, she said, though her tone had softened. You had the power, and I had nothing, Calvin nodded. I know, but I want to change that. I want to do right by him, by both of you. Jasmine crossed her arms tighter. It's not that simple. I know it's not, but let me try, please. A long silence stretched between them, filled with the noise of distant sirens and the hum of city life far below. Finally, she stepped aside and opened the door wider. Go say hi, she said, voice low. But don't make promises you can't keep. He's had enough of that for one lifetime. Calvin stepped inside. The apartment smelled like lemon and old books. There were posters on the wall of planets and rockets and a calendar pinned to the fridge with Isaiah's name scribbled in half the squares. Isaiah peeked out from his bedroom door. Calvin gave a small, unsure smile. Hey, he said. I was hoping we could talk, if you're okay with that. Isaiah hesitated, then slowly opened the door wider. Okay, he said quietly. And just like that, a door Calvin never knew existed was finally left ajar. The next morning, Calvin stood in his penthouse, staring at the Los Angeles skyline. The view used to make him feel powerful, glass towers, winding freeways, the distant ocean, but today it felt hollow. The leather folder sat heavy in his hands, his father's old planner, an artifact Calvin had held onto without knowing why. Every entry was penned in meticulous block letters, organized to the minute. Calls, meetings, campaign donations, legal consultations, and there it was. One single entry from 10 years ago, scribbled in red, Jasmine Carter, resolved. Resolved, like a problem, like a mistake. Calvin's heart sank. He flipped to the next page, found a memo from Robert Grant's personal attorney. It confirmed everything. Letters had been intercepted. Jasmine had been paid off, attempted anyway. When she refused the money, Robert went quiet and ruthless like he always did. A decade of silence. All because Calvin's father couldn't stand the idea of scandal. Back in the present, Calvin shut the planner, jaw clenched. His whole life had been built on legacy and perfection. But now all he could think about was a 10-year-old boy who talked about space like it was a place he could actually touch. Isaiah. That afternoon, he returned to Jasmine's apartment. Isaiah was at school. Jasmine was on the couch, curled beneath a worn blanket, holding a mug of tea that had gone cold. "You look like you haven't slept," she said without looking up. Calvin sat beside her, placing the planner on the coffee table. "I found it, proof that it wasn't me." Jasmine glanced at it. Slowly, she reached out, flipped it open to the red-marked page. Her eyes didn't blink for a long time. Then she closed the planner. "He did it," she whispered. "He really did." Calvin nodded. "I'm sorry," he said, voice cracking. "For all of it. For not fighting harder. For trusting him." Jasmine nodded faintly, then sighed. "Isaiah always asks why he doesn't look like his friends, why you never came. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I thought you didn't care. I just told him, maybe you didn't know." Calvin leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I want to make this right. I don't care about appearances or what anyone thinks. I just want to be his father. If he'll let me." Jasmine studied him. The way his fingers fidgeted, the way his voice was no longer polished but raw. "I believe you," she said, "but you don't get to jump in and play hero. I know. You show up. You listen. You stay." She added, "You show him he matters." That evening, Calvin waited outside Isaiah's school with a telescope case in the trunk of his car. Isaiah's eyes widened when he saw him. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Thought you might want a ride. And maybe something else." Calvin popped the trunk and pulled out the telescope. Isaiah's jaw dropped. "Is that real?" "NASA certified. You said you wanted to see Saturn? Let's see it for ourselves." That night, the three of them sat on the rooftop, wrapped in blankets. Calvin helped Isaiah adjust the focus, point the lens to the southeast. Isaiah's breath caught. "I see it! Saturn! With the rings!" Calvin grinned. Jasmine, leaning quietly against the wall, smiled too, but it was small, tired. Isaiah turned to Calvin. "Do you think I could work at NASA someday?" "I think you can go farther than that," Calvin said, "and I'll be right here to help you get there." Isaiah looked down, then back up. "Thanks, Dad." The word hit Calvin like sunlight in a dark room. He didn't reply, he just pulled Isaiah close and held on. But even as the stars shimmered overhead, Jasmine pressed her fingers to her temple behind them, grimacing. She said nothing. Just watched her son laugh under a sky full of dreams, and hoped she'd have enough time to see them all come true. The knock came just after midnight. Jasmine sat upright on the couch, startled. A book slid from her lap to the floor as her eyes darted toward the front door. Calvin had dozed off in the armchair nearby, but he was on his feet in seconds, alert. Outside, rain misted down in soft sheets, silvering the windows. The knock came again, louder this time. Jasmine opened the door a crack and froze. Franklin Lewis, her landlord, stood there, smug as ever, flanked by two uniformed officers. "Miss Carter," he said, voice syrupy, "we're here regarding complaints." "Complaints," she repeated, stepping into the hallway, heartbeat rising. "Disturbances, in-and-out traffic, a luxury vehicle parked without a permit, noise. Tenants are concerned." He sneered. "This building isn't zoned for high-profile guests. You called the cops because Calvin parks here?" She asked, her voice like flint. Franklin shrugged. "This is a quiet community, Jasmine. You're 2 weeks late on rent, and now this?" He produced a folded notice from his coat. "Eviction. 10 days. Calvin stepped into the doorway behind her. "You can't do that." "Not legally." Franklin smiled wider. "I've got lawyer friends too, Mr. Grant." The officers looked uncomfortable. Jasmine stared them down, then snatched the notice from Franklin's hand and slammed the door shut in his face. Inside, she locked it, then leaned her forehead against the wood, her hands shaking. "I'm so sorry," Calvin said behind her. "This is what I was afraid of," she said through gritted teeth. "You show up, and now the wolves circle." "I'll take care of it," he said instantly. "No," she snapped, turning. "You don't get to fix this with money. Not everything is a hostile takeover. Calvin blinked, caught off guard. Jasmine's voice lowered. You want to help? Help me do this the right way. No headlines, no power moves, just justice. Calvin stared at her, then slowly he nodded. The next morning, Jasmine spent hours on the phone, calling tenant advocacy groups, housing rights hotlines, anyone who might listen. Most didn't. One put her on hold for 45 minutes. Another told her they were at capacity. But at 4:12 p.m., her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Miss Carter? This is Sandra Lee, Office of Housing Integrity. I got your email. I've heard of Mr. Lewis before. You're not the first complaint. Hope bloomed in Jasmine's chest, cautious but real. 2 days later, Sandra arrived with an inspector, a housing attorney, and a camera crew. Franklin turned ghost white as they swept through the building. Violations, mold, improper zoning, discrimination complaints. The eviction was illegal, and now it was being documented. By the time it was over, neighbors who'd once stayed silent were standing in the halls, offering testimony. Someone brought over cookies. Someone else handed Jasmine a thank you card. That night, as the apartment buzzed with relief, Calvin helped Isaiah set up the telescope again on the roof. Can we see Jupiter tonight? Isaiah asked, bouncing with excitement. Definitely, Calvin smiled. And I bet we'll catch a couple moons too. As they adjusted the lens, Jasmine stood at the doorway, arms folded, watching them. She'd never seen Isaiah this alive. She'd never seen Calvin look this real. Less like a mogul, more like a man trying his best. Later, once Isaiah had gone to bed, Calvin stayed behind in the living room. Jasmine joined him on the couch. You're good with him, she said quietly. I'm trying, he said. I keep thinking about how much time I lost. Jasmine looked down. We all lost time. Then she hesitated, her fingers brushing her temple again. Calvin noticed. You okay? Just tired, she said too quickly. Long day. But her skin was pale, her lips dry. Calvin's eyes lingered, troubled. Jasmine, he said gently, is there something you're not telling me? She opened her mouth, then stopped. Not yet. Later, she said. Right now, let's just let tonight be quiet. And so he nodded, not pushing, not yet. But something was building. Behind her silence, behind her strength, and soon it would break through. The silence in the hospital waiting room was different. Not tense. Not anticipatory. It was heavy, the kind that presses down on your chest and makes breathing feel like work. Calvin sat hunched forward, elbows on knees, head bowed. His suit jacket was wrinkled, his hair tousled from dragging his fingers through it for the past 2 hours. Jasmine was behind a set of closed doors. He had carried her there himself. He had found her on the bathroom floor that morning. Curled and cold, her voice weak and eyes distant. She had whispered, it's time. And now here he sat, time slipping away again. The door clicked open. A nurse appeared, clipboard in hand. Mr. Grant? He stood so fast the chair scraped loudly. Yes, I'm here. She's awake. The doctor will speak with you both shortly. The way she said it sent a tremor through him. When he stepped into the room, Jasmine looked small in the bed, too small. Her skin was pale, EVs snaked from her arms. But her eyes were open, alert. Hey, she whispered. Hey yourself, he said, taking her hand, careful not to squeeze too hard. A doctor entered moments later, calm, mid-50s, clipboard in hand, but no optimism in his eyes. It's glioblastoma, he said gently. An aggressive brain tumor, advanced stage. Calvin's breath caught. We can slow it, radiation, chemo, but it won't stop it, I'm sorry. Jasmine closed her eyes, exhaling through her nose. Calvin felt the room tip sideways. Without treatment? She asked. Months, the doctor said. With it? Maybe a year, but the side effects will be brutal. After the doctor left, Calvin turned to her, trembling. When were you going to tell me? I've known for a few weeks, she said softly. I didn't want you to feel trapped. You don't get to make that call, he said, tears welling. Not alone. She looked away. I didn't want your pity. He stepped closer. Jasmine, I don't pity you. I love you. Her eyes widened. surprised, uncertain, then soft. "I don't know how to fix this," he said, "but I'm staying. I want to stay, every minute I can." She smiled faintly, tears slipping down her cheek. That night, Isaiah didn't ask many questions. He just curled up beside Calvin on the couch, eyes wide and scared. Jasmine rested in the bedroom, the door cracked open, the light on. 3 days later, the seizures came again. Then the pain, the fog, the forgetting. Some nights, she couldn't remember Isaiah's name. Other nights, she called him by her father's. Still, Calvin stayed. Still, Isaiah stayed. They read to her when she could no longer read. They sat with her in the garden when she couldn't walk. On her last lucid day, she looked at Isaiah and whispered, "The stars, baby, always look for the stars." That night, she didn't wake up. The funeral was simple, exactly how she wanted. No speeches, no drama, just family, just memory. Isaiah clutched a notebook in his lap, Jasmine's handwriting scrawled across the pages. A letter she had written for him. For Calvin. After the service, Isaiah knelt before the headstone, pressing a photo into the soil. The one where Jasmine laughed barefoot in the rain, holding him close to her chest. "I miss her," he said softly. "Me too," Calvin whispered. They stood there for a long time, letting the silence say what words could not. In the weeks that followed, grief settled into the corners of their apartment like dust. Calvin learned how to braid Isaiah's hair, how to pack lunchboxes, how to not overseason spaghetti. His billion-dollar boardroom was still there, but it no longer came first. Isaiah started therapy again. He didn't always want to talk, but when he did, he talked about Jasmine's laugh, her cooking, her humming in the kitchen, the way she used to say, "Try again," when something broke. One night, Isaiah handed Calvin a letter, a page from the notebook. Jasmine's last message. "Tell him it's okay to forgive himself. That I already did." Calvin cried in the hallway that night. Alone. A year passed. The apartment felt different now, lived in, full. Isaiah had drawn a mural on the wall. Family photos lined the shelf. A dog named Rocket barked too much and shed everywhere. On the anniversary of her passing, they visited Jasmine's grave. Isaiah brought a science test he'd aced. "She'd be proud," Calvin said. Isaiah smiled, tapping the headstone. "She already is." As they walked back to the car, Calvin asked, "Ice cream?" Isaiah earned, "Always." And in that moment it was enough. Not perfect, not painless, but enough. Because sometimes healing isn't thunder. It's starlight, soft and steady, guiding you home. What is the lesson of this story? 1. The truth always finds its way to the surface. Sometimes the lies we inherit are more damaging than the ones we tell. Calvin didn't abandon his son, he was kept in the dark. But when the truth came, he chose to show up. 2. Presence matters more than perfection. Calvin couldn't erase 10 lost years, but he learned that consistency, small gestures, and simply showing up can rebuild what was broken. 3. Dreams are sacred. Protect them. Malik's dream to work at NASA was dismissed by his teacher, but uplifted by his father. Children need people who believe in them louder than the world doubts them. 4. Love isn't loud, it's lasting. Jasmine's final gift wasn't wealth or even wisdom. It was permission. For Calvin to forgive himself, and for their son to grow up knowing he was wanted, deeply. What do you think about this story? Let's comment below to discuss them. And don't forget to subscribe our channel to listen to more interesting stories.